Hey everybody, and welcome back to my book club. Today I am going to be doing a video that I have been wanting to do for such a long time, and now that I have finally finished the final book in the Throne of Glass series, the longest book series I have ever read, I can finally tell you what I think about all these books, what I think about this series as a whole. So the reason I'm not doing a standard ranking video is because I don't think I could possibly have tiers. All the tiers would be like, you know, good, best, good. It would all be in the realm of good because I love all these books so much. There's no way that I can, you know, say I dislike any, so I'm just not going to do the tier ranking. I'm going to just be arranging them into least good, even though I love it, to most good, okay? This video will not contain spoilers, so if you have not read any of the Throne of Glass books, I'm not going to be divulging anything beyond what is already generally known about the series, and I will not be giving away any specific important plot points beyond, you know, the characters and what they do in the certain books, okay? So if you have not read the series, feel free to continue watching, and yeah, let's begin. So at the very bottom, the least good Throne of Glass book is going to have to be The Assassin's Blade. This is the book that details the story before the events of Throne of Glass. It shows how Selena was an assassin under Arobin, how she became Adarlan's most famous assassin. It shows how she ended up in the salt mines of Endovier, which isn't a spoiler because this is like, you know, the plot of the first book. All this happens in the synopsis of the first book already. It's not a bad book, and it has all the things needed to give you the Sarah J. Maas feel. But here's the thing. Selena, the protagonist, was just so unlikable in this book. She was just so immature and cranky and emotional and impossible to sympathize with, and I suppose I can attribute this to her age because she was young, but the thing I love the most about this series is her, and I just could not put up with the immaturity. Also, I read this book after Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, so throughout those two books, all we did was hear about Sam, Selena's like past lover, and I was excited to read this book because I was excited to see what Selena and Sam were like as a couple. And in this book we meet Sam, and their relationship is terrible. Toxic ass codependent stuff. It is dysfunctional. There is no communication. Both of them are completely different levels. They're not on the same wavelength. Like, it wasn't a letdown, but this is like bottom tier Sarah J. Maas, and this is why I'm putting it at the bottom. Actually, you know what's bottom tier Sarah J. Maas? I started reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. I am halfway through, and I straight up want the whole fucking cast to die. Actually, no. I want to kill Farah, and I want Tamlin and Lucian to just like straight up bang for the next 200 pages, and then maybe I won't give it a 1 star. But yeah, I'm really fucking hating A Court of Thorns and Roses so far. I'm sorry. In 7th place, I have Tower of Dawn. So I liked Tower of Dawn a lot. This entire book follows Kale, and this is the 7th book in the series, and it's at number 7. Cool. I can't reveal too much of what happens in this book because spoilers, but at the end of the book Queen of Shadows, blah, 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 plot, he has to go on a completely different journey, so he's completely absent from the next book, Empire of Storms. And this book takes place during the events of Empire of Storms. It started off as a novella, but then as Sarah was writing it, Sarah, because we're close. Hi, Sarah, if you're watching this by some miracle. So this novella turned into a giant 700-page book, and this is his story. Something that really pisses me off is hearing people say that this is a prequel book. No! This book is required reading. This book is main plot stuff. You cannot read Kingdom of Ash. You cannot read this giant chunk unless you read Tower of Dawn because you won't know anyone. You're not going to know who Irene is. Irene is so important to this, and you're not going to know who she is. And people might be like, oh, I don't want to read this book because it's a male protagonist, and I like this series because the female protagonist and female empowerment. Don't worry. Kale is the protagonist of half this book. More stuff is dedicated to Nesrin and Irene, so you will get a female protagonist, clearly. Kale is the co-protagonist of this book. Relax. At number 6, I have Empire of Storms. So this book is when the tone of the series really started to shift, and if we were in PG-13 land the rest of the series, this is when we get into some R-rated territory. And I'm not talking about the violence, okay? I am talking about the excessive amount of nude couples yoga, if you know what I mean. We follow the same characters. We have, you know, Selena, Dorian, Manon. I thought I was going to enjoy this story because of them. No. The highlight of this book was Elide and Lorcan. They stole the show. Whenever a chapter with them was up, I was like, this is a blessing. Everybody shut up in this house. I am having a moment over here. So at number 5, we have Kingdom of Ash. This is the... Am I holding it upside down? No. This is the final book in the Throne of Glass saga. It is 980 pages long. This is the grand finale. I had so many feelings reading this book. It's just so perfect in every single way. This 1,000-page book is essentially like the entire final battle. And it's so similar to like Lord of the Rings in how there are so many different endings, like rearranging scenes from like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings to like fit this battle. It was just so grand and so big and so epic. So the reason I did not rate this book super high. The reason why it's in the middle for me is because this book is divided into two parts. You have this part where they have to fix a certain thing because the ending of Empire of Storms ends with a huge problem. So this part is dedicated to like fixing that problem. And then this part over here is the final battle. But then there's like connective tissue, and this middle chunk is a bit weak. It's not terrible. It drags a bit when they get to the final battle because like a lot of stuff has to happen before they can, finally do the thing. So the connective tissue was a bit weak, but the feels were all there. So many storylines finally coming back together. I cried, and I probably have an image of it somewhere lurking around that I might share with certain people who I am close to or put up on this screen. Proof of my emotions. So number 4, I have Crown of Midnight. This is the second book in the series. This book is fantastic. This one really sets the tone for the magic of the world. And in this book, Selena was a fucking badass who took no shit. Like, I was loving how she had progressed and was taking shit from nobody and was just like doing her own thing. It was just like, yeah, she did that. She did that. Sarah J. Maas, she did that. So in third place, we have Throne of Glass. This is the first book in the series, and this book is iconic. I know it falls short on many other people's rankings for a variety of reasons. Chiefly among them is that many people think that Selena was weak in this book for all the shit she was talking. Like, there was so much about her reputation, about her being the main assassin in Otterland, like the deadliest one. But in this book, she's like kind of weak and losing battles. First of all, we need to talk. You people who assert this thing, this bogus claim that if she started off in this book as a strong woman with no weaknesses, that would have been boring. And bitch, this book starts off with her after having been tortured for months, nay, years in a slave camp, all malnourished and beaten up, and you expect her to be at the top of her game? What's wrong? Also, I really loved the mystery of the world. It was really lovely, and I loved Selena in this. She was such a bitch, but in a good way, unlike Farah, who's like a bitch in a bad way. I love books that center around a tournament. So now we're gonna get to the ones I love the most. And in second place, I have book number 3, and that is Heir of Fire. This is when the series really started to peak and get good. In this book, we learn so much about just how wide the world is, because the first 2 books are set exclusively in this castle. But in this book, we truly get to explore. We meet Manon, the witches, we meet the wyverns. We get to witness and read one of the most heart-poundingly intense chase scenes I have ever read in any book ever. It is in the forest, and it involves skinwalkers, if you know what I mean. If you know, you know. It was such a good scene. I love the scene. There is a haters to lovers plotline in this book, and I used to not get that trope, but this book made me get that trope. Okay. So number 1, the best book in the Throne of Glass series. This isn't just the best book in this series. This is one of the best books I have ever read in my entire freaking life. I love it with all my heart. And that is Queen of Shadows, book 4 or 5, depending on what order you read these books. Probably one of the most amazing reading experiences I've ever had in my entire life. Queen of Shadows made me worship the ground that Sarah J. Maas walks on. Wherever she walks, I kiss the floor. Before this book, I was just like, oh, this is a really fun fantasy series. I'm really happy to be here. Oh my god. With this book, I really started to take Sarah J. Maas seriously as a skilled writer. I did not know how much I genuinely loved this series and these characters until I read Queen of Shadows. This was like the game changer. She went all out. Take no prisoners. The way the rest of this series just builds up to this book is perfection. Call me trash, but this book is a perfect book. Period. The amount of plot twists had me gasping for air. I was crying during the finale because it was just so cathartic and so epic. That is the order in which I love the Throne of Glass books, like from best to worst, worst to best, whatever the hell you want to say. If you have any recommendations for things I might love, comment section's yours. But until then, I hope to see you in future videos. Like and comment and subscribe. Have fun, take care, and see you in the future.
I lose myself